Jaggerleith with One Step, and welcome back. You're listening to the Thursday edition of the Country Viewpoint on Flow FM. Well, I got to chat with the new president of the National Farmers Federation, David Jochinke, earlier on. I got this interview as early as I could after the official announcement of his presidency, and it's great to have been able to interview him. We'll take you to the conversation I had with him earlier on now.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on here, and hello, listeners.
Well, congratulations to you, David. Firstly, just tell us how this all came about. Was this in the works for a while?
I guess you could say I'm a long-time advocate for farmers and have been involved in advocacy for ever since Farming Career kicked off. So for me to be involved both at the national farmers level and also have the faith and trust of the organisations, the family that make up the NFF, has been a great honour bestowed onto me. And I recognise that it's very special, and I want to do my hardest to support farmers nationally.
Well, it's going to be a very pivotal time over the next 12 to 24 months. There's going to be a lot on your plate. We'll talk about that in a moment. But firstly, just bring our listeners in on your background, David, a farming background in regional Victoria. Just expand on your profile, your professional profile.
Well, I guess I came straight home from the farm, or to the farm from high school. My family had some sickness in it, and I was given the opportunity to take the reins on very early. And as a part of that, I can remember distinctly the day I was frustrated enough to go to my first farmers meeting where I wanted to make some change. And like most organisations, if a young person comes along and shows a little bit of spunk, they get given a job, of which I came home the Treasurer Secretary of our local district council. And from there, I haven't really looked back. I've been involved at the executive level of policy, both at state and now federally. And one of the best or absolute honours that I do have in this job is meeting farmers, hearing their stories, and then telling those stories to the decision makers so that they understand the consequences of when they do make the decision and the impact they can have in those communities.
All right, well, looking ahead, there's so many things on the agenda where, the state of agriculture is concerned. So what are some of the main objectives that you'll be sort of looking at over the next few months as we head into 2024, David?
Well, what we're seeing at the moment in Canberra is a lot of anti-farming policy being presented or introduced into Parliament. And as farmers are, they're very resilient people and they can handle a lot of issues. But when it comes to government policy, they are extremely frustrated on many fronts. So as my tenure at the National Farmers, as well as the family of organisations that make up the National Farmers Federation, we're looking to make sure that we put that agenda, those issues front and centre to politicians, to the broader community, so that they understand what the consequences are if these policies are endorsed, if they're taken on. And then also, once again, to highlight that farmers are resilient, they are adaptive, they actually have got some fantastic environmental credentials. But unfortunately, they're not always recognised. So for me, it's definitely promoting those, also collectively pushing back on what we consider bad policy.
That is David Jochinke, the newly elected president of the National Farmers Federation. I'll play you the second part of the chat I had with him right after this break. Stay tuned. Keita Alexander with Date Night, and welcome back. You're listening to the Country Viewpoint on Flow FM on a Thursday afternoon. You're with Ella Skelios, and we got the announcement yesterday of the new National Farmers Federation President, David Jochinke, and I was able to secure an exclusive interview with him, and I'll play the second part of the chat I had with him earlier on. This is David Jochinke talking about some of the most pressing issues that, in his opinion, need to be carefully looked at during the time in which he starts his presidency.
Some of the most disappointing things that we've seen around workforce is the removal of our opportunity to have a dedicated ag visa. Also, with the reduction in backpackers, their availability to an industry that needs seasonal workforce, as well as the cost that it now takes to apply for these visas, is making it both expensive for farmers to the degree that it's no longer a viable option to use them as a seasonal workforce. But then also, we're less attractive as a nation to potentially people who want to have that working holiday experience. And what we want to make sure is that when they do come here, that the pay and conditions are absolutely up to scratch. But we're not seeing government support us by trying to attract people, by having the right mechanism to get them here, and for them to be able to explore Australia and also work while they're here in the agricultural sector.
Well, just going back before to when you spoke about the resilience of farmers, we saw that on show with the whole standing up for the transmission lines fiasco going on in Victoria. Can we see that pick up again over the next few months as per what you're sort of privy to?
Oh, absolutely. Land, water, workforce, issues around trade, especially when it comes to live export of sheep, are all burning issues for our membership. And when we talk about transmission lines, we're actually talking about respecting farmers, understanding that they need to be involved in that process a lot earlier than at the back end. And it seems to be that rural land is not as valued as other landholders, as other land uses. And we have to keep remembering that Australia has lost 15% of its land, productive agricultural land base in the last 30 years. And we can't continue that trend. We need to be able to have a decent conversation about where's the right place to have this infrastructure and who should benefit from it as a broader outcome. And for us, this issue is not going away. We're here standing shoulder to shoulder with farmers to make sure that they get the best outcome.
Well, before we let you go, David, we know how busy you are, having literally just stepped into this role. Expand on the Keep Farmers Farming campaign for us. What's this all about?
Absolutely. So as a part of our issue of anti-farming policies that we're seeing mount up in Canberra, we're launching something called Keep Farmers Farming. It's a national campaign that's about highlighting and getting people involved with the agricultural sector to support our cause. If people go to the website keepfarmersfarming.org.au, they can sign a petition, they can send an email to the Prime Minister, they can help us by getting in contact with their local representative, their local MP, and then also they can donate as well. So there's many ways that people can get involved to make sure that the voice of agriculture is heard and we stop this erosion of agricultural production. Because what we do know is if farmers produce less, consumers pay more.
David Jochinke is the new president of the National Farmers Federation. A real privilege to have you join us so early on into your tenure, David, as the president. All the very best with everything. We'll check in with you again soon.
Thanks for the opportunity, and I look forward to it.
And good luck to David Jochinke in his time in that role. He's going to have plenty to look over, especially in the next few months. We're going to have plenty to look over as well here on the Country Viewpoint. Still a busy agenda ahead, so stay tuned. Don't touch those dials. Back with you real soon.